here. Yeah. Okay. So we start now because at the end of this session, so after 5 minutes break, I'm gonna give you another quiz lah. Okay, so for today's lecture is about dealing with multivariate outliers. So in a data set, so we can divide it into two. So the first one we have univariate, and then the second one is we have multivariate. So what is the difference between univariate data set and multivariate data set? So it comes from the name itself. So uni means one, unity one. So based on this records, I have name 1 and name 2. Okay, so the patterns of this data set is similar. So that is what we call as univariate, one type of variables only. Okay, and then for the multivariate data set, for example, we have two columns or we have two features. The first one is name, and then the second one is the age. The age. Multivariate data set means we have multiple variables. Okay, so let's say if you want to identify the missing values for both data set, different lah. So univariate data set, you can use standard methods like you can use Z-score, or you can use histogram, or you can use IQR method. Okay, but somehow when we are dealing with multivariate outliers, so there are few techniques that you can use to detect the outliers. So for example, so you can use fitting regression lines. So other fitting regression lines, for example, we have another plot called residual plot, or you can use scatter plot. So this one is the example of univariate outliers, univariate data set. So you can simply use Z-score. So based on the Z-score value for height, so it shows that the last records which exceeds 3 is considered as outliers. So this one is for univariate, and this one is the example of multivariate data set. So you can use fitting regression lines. For example, you can residual plot. You can use residual plot. Okay, so yeah, fitting regression line, residual plot. So this is the visualization of residual plot. So from here, so assuming that the dotted blue and orange actually is your data point. Okay, and then the line here is what we call as residual line. Okay, so literally residual line is it is just a straight line lah in the context of regression analysis. So your residual line, it can appear in this form or this form or this form, as long as it is a straight line. Okay, so based on this residual plot, so if you see here, this one, so yeah, so the orange data point actually is considered as outliers. Okay, so if your data point is nearer to your residual line, so that means it is outliers. If it is far from your line, it is considered as outliers. Okay, so and then the next one, the next technique that you can use to identify the outliers is you can calculate the Mahalanobis distance, or you can even use clustering. Okay, so this is the sample diagram or some sample visualization of Mahalanobis distance. So it is the oval shape actually. So from here, there's a formula like actually to calculate this Mahalanobis distance. So from here, so if there's a data point, that is outside your oval shape here, so this one is considered as outliers also. Okay, so the advantages of using Mahalanobis distance to identify the outliers is, so for example, if you have a lot of features is your columns. For example, like you have 500 features. Okay, so using the standard techniques like the previous one is not efficient compared to Mahalanobis distance. Or if you have a large number of data set, or if you have a large number of records, 1 terabyte, 1 petabyte, and so on. So Mahalanobis distance is the best way to detect the outliers. Okay, and then we have another method that you can use instead of the standard statistical techniques. So for example, you can use analytical techniques like machine learning techniques. So for example, you can use decision tree. So you can use SVM and so on. Okay, so and also we have another techniques that you can use, which is truncation, capping, or Winsorizing. So these three techniques actually it focus on limiting the threshold. So for example, so based on, okay, assuming that I go back, so for example, like once we have identified the outliers like this, so we'll replace these outliers with any values that is near to it. So for example, Winsorizing, right? If you are using Winsorizing, so assuming that these outliers, so it will replace these outliers with the we have three potential values that is nearer to this, right? So based on our findings lah, for example. So it will replace these outliers with this value. Any value that is near to the outliers. So there is winds rising. Okay, and then let's say for this one, outliers. So we replace with another value that is nearer to this value. So assuming that this one is the nearer value. So we replace this one with this one. Winds rising. Winds rising. Okay, and then so this one is by using Z-score for truncation. So by using Z-score, so if there is any value outside your limit here, automatically it will delete this value, truncate this value. Okay, so standard threshold for Z-score is 3. Z-score is more than 3 if it's the S
可以
outlier.
加个联系方式，但是可能可以一起吃饭的那种。你也是住 DVR 哦，昨晚忘记问你了。他们一讲你没有在那个 WhatsApp 群组里面，我以为你在里面。
But somehow you can also modify this value. So for example, let's say you have 1,000 data set, 1,000 records, and then you only want to remove the extremely high outliers, so you can change this value. Okay, so for example, to remove the highly extreme outliers, so you can change this value to be larger value lah, for example like 3.5, or you can use 4.0 values lah. Okay, so this is the formula for Z-score. Okay, and then next we have standardizing data. So standardizing data is we want to rescale the data so that it will fall within the similar range. So for example, okay, let's say we have 2 variables here. So the first one we have gender, and then the second one we have income. So but somehow because of this data set is considered as a multivariate data set, so at the end it will be difficult for us to process. Okay, and it also will take more training time. So in order to speed up the training process, so we can scale the data set so that it will fall within the same range. Okay, so there are 3 techniques that you can use. So the first one is you can use min-max standardization. So this is the formula. So normally for standardizing your data set using min-max, so the range is between 0 to 1. 0 to 1. Okay. Sometimes you can also use the range of -1 to +1. Okay, but normally we will choose this value lah, this range. Okay, so we try one by one. Min-max. We have Z-score and also we have decimal scaling. Okay, so for min-max standardization, so let's say this is your data set of age. So we have age around 6 records, and then you want to normalize or you want to rescale this data by using min-max normalization. So, for example, first thing is you need to identify the minimum and maximum values. So based on the 6 records, the minimum values is 10. Minimum. Okay, and then the maximum values is 80. So after that, you can apply these minimum and maximum values to your formula here. Okay, so for example, I want to rescale the data set for ID 1 here. Okay, so 30 here will represent the old data point. So this one is X old. Okay, so old data point and then minus minimum old. Okay, so minimum old value is 10. And then we divide it by 80. So 80 is the maximum old. Okay, minus 10. So 10 is referred to the minimum values here. Min old. Max old. And then we multiply with new maximum, which is 1, and new minimum is 0, plus new minimum, which is 0. So what is the answer? Twenty divided by 70, 1 over 3, so 0.3. Right? Can check. It's 70 lah. So 70. So 2 over 7. Right. Well, in floating number? $285. Okay, so your first task is calculate the minimum, the new values for the age after you have standardized it by using min-max for record 2 up until record 6. Now,
你有拍大白板上面写的东西吗？
太远，
是耶，你电话也是拍不到。
拍不到。我在录着，
哦
我在录着老师他的上课。
哦，
有。
你电话录，好像每次都有录是吧？
啊，怎么？
有时候你这样录会有满咩？
录完然后 save 去 drive 啊。
你的 drive 是很大位。
没有啊，那个 YouTube 的 drive，就 po 上去 YouTube 啊，然后就 for private。
哦，是哦，YouTube
没有limit啊。
是哦。哦吧，也是靠你是录的时候也是看不到他写什么。
就蒙蒙这样哦，就看这 slide 就。
你是拍不到，我地方是
下面那个拍不到，那个应该等下去才拍哦。
对。
太野了。
太烂了。这是第几集？你看节目
第二是上次一半那一边，四审第四审这样，四审个出来。
我这样年纪前面说，他的 X 是什么呢
X 哦
？X 哪里来的30？我减
X 那个 H 那个岁数，你看那个 H 的旁边还有写 X 嘛 ？XO。
哦，诶，我减 minimum 值，好像就是那个 S 它没有固定的，就随便选一个年龄。
就 H 那边就是用 X 来代替啊。
然后要选哪一个？就是一定是哪？因为刚刚老师在讲你要做什么245啊这样子哦，然后每个人只是把那50带进去，然后40带进去，就是选 X50、X40、X60这样哦。你看看，他的方法是写什么屁法？
太野了。
叫朋友帮我拍。操，他擦掉了。对。贴那个不知道呗。有什么？以后要来了，对的。东西爱他2个字哈。连都上课了。1点。我们也是1点啊，是吧？我冰秋。然后做时间久，早上都做到10点了。第一次吗？吃一口讲不完的话。是啊，真的是啊，说话的。今天刚刚是从哪里开始啊？哪里继续？
这一边，这个现在是做这一题，现在是在做这一题。
对。
就这边开始啊，你上次停在上面嘛，也停在这边。
那我坐那边嘛。他就对，那时候他叫我们算这个嘛，做那个 quiz。其实没有上很多。
没有，他刚才是前面就你们进来15分钟前的话就讲着，就3个星期的东西啊，只是有复习一点。
因为我看了好像前几个赛吧。不知道哎，我是懂那个公式吧，然后像那个 new 是有什么用啊？X 好像是，就是年龄啊，看你那个是最小的，那个是最大的。下面那个是最大程度小，下面那个你什么 new mass new 看等下讨论那个答案。你就这科跟我们一起上嘛？你就这科跟我们一起上嘛？我记得。其
他的不是嘛？因为这个是 elective。
for 他是 elective。
你们是 compulsory 嘛？Software engineering。
这个是 year 2啊。
year 3。
所以我们只是有可能在今天跟那个 practical 遇到你啊。今天 lecture 跟 practical class
就这个 course 啊，就这个 data science
有2科。 一个 practical 跟 lecture 吧，也没有多样。
过后也是要选
你过后有elective哦。
2 sem 3
Okay, so so you just replace the x-old value of age to the equations. So for example, for ID2, the new age value is 0.571.
如果没有意外的话
ID number 3 is 0. Number 4, where is it?
嗯
Yeah. 4.429, number 5, 0.714, and number 6 is 1. Okay?
不懂 new max 有他题目给了 new max and new minimum 是1跟0啊，还是啊，那种1跟0就套进去吧。不知道。这样其实算来的话，算来的话。
Okay, and then the next is by using z-score standardization. So this is the formula for your z-score. So this one is quite similar lah, by just like how you calculate the outliers values lah. So for example, so this is your original data set of age. So you can simply replace the number of x in your equation, in this equation. Okay. And then the next one, we have another technique to standardize the data. So this one is decimal scaling. Okay. So decimal scaling. Okay, so this is the definition of decimal scaling. So you need to divide dividing by a power of 10 as follows. So this is the original values, new values, original values divided by 10 to the power of n. Okay, so n here is referring to the number of digits of the maximum absolute value. So what is that? So in this case, so if you take here number of digits, so maximum value says 80. So how many digits? 2 digits. Then x new is equal to x old divided by 10 to the power of 2, 10 squared. So for example, age lah for ID1, x old is 30 divided by 100. So 0.3. 3 lah. I think decimal scaling is well compared to other standardization techniques. Okay, so for example, in your records, you have, let's say this one. For the first ID, 300, right? So then, your decimal scaling value will be different lah. So in this case, so you have 3 digits. 3 digits. So then 10. Number of digits of the maximum absolute value. Number of digits. Simple ah, take note ah. Okay, so can we proceed? Yeah. Okay, and then next we have categorization. So or we call it as close classification. or another name is classing, grouping, binning, and so on. So literally, why we need to do classification or cost classification is, so for example, like for the age. Okay, so for the age, right? So instead of you display this continuous data set, you can group this age to a few groups, or you can classify this age to few category. So for example, you can classify it to a junior,
那你有去阿罗哈
teenagers,
festival 的？有没有去啊？
or a senior
你有去过吗？
citizen.
我没有，我跟阿兰有去过。
Okay, so literally why we implement
Huh?
cost
Huh?
classification
Huh?
because
Huh?
some of the
是
reason
哪玩
is
呀？
due to
我跟阿兰
privacy
有去啊
protection.
我不是第一
So
次去。
instead of
这一次啊。
you
啊，他去
display
年好像有
these
办过一次。
numbers
你没
of
去过啊？
age
我
for your customer, for example, so you can
不喜欢。
animalize
不喜欢太多人的地方。
individual
哦。
age information actually.
这个是很
Okay.
难。
So this one is to make sure that you meet the privacy protection lah, for privacy purpose.
遗册，大部分人
And also another reason why we do cost classification because we want to make sure that the analysis as simple as we can. Okay, so for example, by reducing the age group, so you can make the data analysis or you can make the visualization to be more manageable. Okay, and then we have another reason here. So for example, if you are working with categorical variables, okay, so implementing cost classification can help you to reduce the number of categorical. So for example, categorical data is like maybe category 1, 2, maybe you have 100 category. So you can group this category, for example, like 1 to 10, 11 to 12. So this process is what we call as cost classification. Okay, and then if you have continuous variables, so this one also very beneficial lah, just like I mentioned to you previously. So you can make sure that your visualization are more manageable, so that later on it is easier for you to interpret.
居然没有拍到照片啊？没有，没有拍到，这好玩多的。是。哦，这你的钥匙圈。Hostel 哦，这个。
Okay, and then we have
几个，这个好像可以看。
techniques that you can use to categorize your attributes, or you can or techniques that you can categorize your data set. So under this one we have two techniques. So actually it belongs to binning lah. So binning. So under binning techniques, we can divide it into equal interval binning, and the second one is equal frequency. So for example, okay, assuming that this is your data set, for each data set, so let's say you want to do cost classification by using equal frequency. Okay, so first thing is you need to sort your data in ascending order. So it becomes 10, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 80.
就那个 Music Festa 你有
Okay,
去过？
so let's say you
也是没
want
去
to
过
group
哦
or you
就
want
今年的
to
你有去啊？
categorize
还是
your
没有
each
啊？
data set
那个
data
是
set
我跟他有买票，那时候
into
我去
two
看。
bins.
去
Okay,
玩了。
so if you are dealing with equal frequency, that means for each bin it will have
学校这些活动是
equal
不错，
data
去
point.
join 啊。
不懂啊，有
So
时
since
他
in our
内人
data
在
set
小
we have
红书
6,
这
right?
边
So
口
bin
碑做
1,
做到不好，OK。
so you might have 10, 30, and 40. So bin 2, 50, 60, and 80. So this one equal frequency. Okay, so and then equal interval binning, or we call it as equal width binning, different. So first thing, after you sort your data, you need to identify the width. Okay, so how to calculate the width, or you need to identify the range of your data. So in order to identify the range or the width, maximum minus minima and then divided by 2 bins, right? Bins. 2. So in this case, maximum is 80 minus 10 divided by 2. So what is the answer? 45. 35. No. Uh, 35. So this one is a bit not complicated lah, simple. And then after you have identified the width, so then you need to identify what is the range for bin 1 and bin 2.
火车说是演到的橙色跑去粉色那里。哦。就是坐火车这样跑前先喷人。哦。那个叫。它是怎么分的嘛？13、14、15、16、18、10都是这样分的。
那个我不是很清楚，我下面要认识我会有。
它有2种，我不管什么意思，一个说。
可是 frequency 的话，应该是13579，或者是。
它这个interval binding 应该是一样那个什么距离的吧？差不多。好像是，可是这个是什么意思？平均分配它自己3个自己3个，是这样。
不要看死了。
我那2个真是好用，就是小碗菜是要在那边。他们应该是边来就不要上了。饱了前面怎么在小圆鸟声门为小轩，真是米饭都可以运。
不懂两分 equal frequency binding 还有一个 equal interval。
这完全不知道什么鬼啊！看他有没有讲，很浅呢，他的笔，你看得到哎。
那个要下去，那个真要下去吧。
是啊，不要讲拍，看到都知道很浅。哇，终于来了，2点了。
Okay, so we have 2 types of binning, equal width and equal frequency. So literally equal frequency is, for example, we have 6 data points, and then each bin should allocate an equal values of data point. So for example 6, so bin 1 we allocate 3, bin 2 also we allocate 3 lah. But somehow for the equal width binning, first thing is you need to calculate the width value. So maximum minus minimum and then divided by the number of bins. And then width is equal to 35, and then after that we need to identify the range for bin 1 and also bin 2. So this is the standard formula. So min plus width for bin 1, and then for bin 2 min plus 2 width. Okay, let's say you have bin 3, min plus 3w lah, up until min plus nw, min n. Okay, and then so after you have calculate the range, so bin 1, the value will reach up until 45, and then after 45, another value is for bin 2. Okay, so for example, let's say in your records, you have 45, right? So 45 should be here.
我有一点勉强啊，你的至少有拍到我都是这样，白痴一片，很勉强啊，哇，真的是很勉强的，80减10乘2，这样严看，你看呢？遗憾，拍一下白板。
Okay, so let's try another question. So yeah, so try to categorize this data set of income by using equal width. Equal interval is also equal width, and also equal frequency binning. So we have 7 data points. So assuming that the number of bins is equal to 3 lah. So calculate.
你看得懂为什么还用算？勉强看得到。什么意思？
上面那个我懂，下面那个我看不懂。min 加 w 是什么？
然后一个加2w。
w 是35。哦 width 这个是 width， 就是它的距离吧，就是 max 减 min， 然后除以2就35嘛，就是 width， 就是然后这个是 range 是什么？就是它的距离吧 ，min 加35就是加35的45。然后第二个是加2个 w， 就2个35啊。给我试一下。
不是这样，不是那个人呢？当学生的。当学生。真的是你别加上没有这里还不行，这样的时候就好像上考，大概礼拜用顺的一样。好像就是刚才还在算那个东东的，好像就是这个，他在叫我们算。
啊，等下了，写一下，现在写好给你看。
24减最小的10，然后再除。它的 maximum 是24，最小是10。我们过后再算吗？
那 该是这样子。可是下面那个我不熟。
不是算它的。
它的 range of bin 1和 bin 2。
对啊，这个是算到的是它最大的那个。
45跟80应该是吧？12、40、40、45。
30、40、15、16、18、我都忘记它原本什么号码。
原本的是。
它应该是算出来的，分它那个号码啊，
分配
的号码。
这边。
哦，是哦。
30、40啊。
这还多了45块。
就45就是我们算到的bin 1哦。
要加进去的。
你给我
超时又不用啊，80是边。
80有啊。
就不用加。
80不用哦。你看10、30。
因为它原本是这样分的。哦，这个是 equal frequency binding， 然后这个是有equal interval 没？
有2个，一个是 interval， 一个是。
不知道啊。
只是算了有什么用呢？